Hello and welcome to ECOVISIONARIES. This is our first show, and today we're looking at practical solutions for climate change.
The goal for all the great entrepreneurs in our history has been efficient production. Make more with less.
And
Make more with
a
less.
supermarket of all the industries, supermarkets I've heard operate on some of the narrowest margins, like 1 to 3%. I mean, it's very narrow compared to other industries, so you really have to know what you're doing to be working with margins like that, and it's competitive.
So certainly in the supermarket case, a 2%, 3% reduction in energy costs per year, which is a huge cost to run a supermarket. One only has to go in and see the lights and see the coolers and the compressors and all the other aspects. Fractions of percentages in energy savings can mean a very significant capture of that narrow margin that you make.
Absolutely. One of the stats, not to interrupt, but the David and Lucille Packard Foundation and the Energy Foundation ran a few ads of several businesses. IBM was one, Verizon, Shaw's, and they actually did this advert, and it was a quarter-page advert. And the great thing about it is it really talks quickly and briefly, along with the register receipt, some of the things that our business did to save money. But the fact that when we were saving about $3 million cumulatively, that means we would typically, or a typical supermarket would have to sell over $150 million worth of groceries to net that profit.
So that savings contributes
Directly to the bottom
directly to costs, reducing costs contributes directly to the bottom line, whereas $150 million in sales, that's the equivalent of $150 million in sales. So that's very significant.
After you take out all of your costs.
Yeah, the net effect, that's very significant.
Absolutely. And the EPA has some stats for the supermarket industry. You know, Shaw's is not a typical supermarket operation, but they will say, typically a 10% reduction in energy costs boosts profit margins by about 6%, increases earnings per share by nearly 7%, and is equivalent to a $60 increase in sales per square foot. And that's the overall.
A 10% reduction in costs increases earnings per share by 7%. Yes. That's very significant to people looking at, who they're going to invest in. And what this is any company that wants to be attractive to its investors should be looking at these kinds of efficiencies. And indeed, I think many companies by now have been looking at these kinds of efficiencies. But what you've done at Shaw's, if I understand, is you've layered a lot of them. You've gone with the lighting, you've captured those savings, then you've gone on to the refrigeration, and you've gone into other areas to the metering. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit of a story. Lighting was easy to do, and it's what they might call cherry picking or low-hanging fruit. You can see the benefits immediately on the bottom line. It's easy to measure savings from lighting retrofits, and there was a technology available, the compact fluorescent for an incandescent, or the T8, which is a narrower fluorescent tube instead of the older versions. But what we needed to do really to implement an effective program is to really learn how and where we use energy. So we used to use the typical monthly utility bill as our benchmarking. We might see a 1 or 2% increase in energy, and that would take a few months before we could catch up. And you may correlate that to weather or may not. But we couldn't necessarily ask our maintenance person to go out into the store and find a 1% energy increase. They'd laugh us away because we can't, it wouldn't be efficient to do that. So we worked with the company that had been installing refrigerant leak detection in our stores, which is another of the environmental things that we're doing. And we piggybacked off of the existing communication hardware and software in the store and put energy meters, sub-meters, on our largest panels, up to 16 of the largest panels. So we're able to independently measure refrigeration racks, heating and air conditioning units, the lighting panels, even separate departments.
So let me see if I understood that. You put sub-metering on all these systems and use the existing communication lines to be able to do that, and that allowed you to get to identify where can those savings happen, where's the 1%, where are those percentages?
Yes, we actually were able to get, the information is downloaded nightly to a monitoring bureau, and they will provide us, because this is a tool that was extremely important. We couldn't necessarily go look at reams and reams of data over the internet that would just have numbers, which would be amperages and voltages.
So the technology is available now to
save that. They distilled it all down,
that.
absolutely. And they send us weekly exception reports that show they will actually show where we're using more energy than we should on a panel, and they'll graphically represent it with indoor and outdoor temperature and humidity, so we can really target where we should save energy.
And you can spot if something's out of line.
Absolutely.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
it's been a real winner for us, and we've taken that and taken it a step further, and we're actually going to have energy. The stores will actually be able to do things first before we actually have to dispatch maintenance and programs like that. So
That's great. We actually, and Shaw's is also one of the companies that's featured on by Clean Air, Cool Planet, and they have shared with us a video about the savings and some of the measures that you've done at Shaw's. So hopefully we can show that now.
Shaw's Supermarkets is a New England company in the front rank of companies in America that's taking action on climate change. Right through the Shaw's example, you see sort of the growth of a company moving towards understanding its role in global warming and what it can do to help.
I just wanted to see if you might be interested in taking a brochure and finding out more about the program that Shaw's Supermarkets is doing. They're purchasing renewable energy.
Less than 3 years. The food retail business is notoriously difficult in terms of operating margins, and we're forced to look at every way we can to save money. Energy management programs we've got in place in the company are saving us over $10 million a year.
this is the energy management system that we use in all of our stores to control all of the major pieces of equipment in the store. But what we've done to kind of go above and beyond that is we've implemented a sub-metering energy and monitoring system.
We're looking at Rack A right now, and that's at 43 kW.
In the past, we'd look at utility bills, and they'd come in monthly, and you couldn't dispatch maintenance and ask them to find where we were using more energy in the store than we should be. Through the Smarty energy sub-metering and monitoring system, we can pinpoint why we're using that energy. We can go in and make some adjustments and save and get back down to where we should be.
Shaw's was founded in 1860. And while I'd like to say they were so far-sighted that the founders thought of energy management, they did have a tradition of Yankee thrift.
Shaw's has been using state-of-the-art lighting systems for the past 7 to 10 years. They typically cost about $40,000 to $60,000 to retrofit into a store, but these systems are so much more efficient than the metal halide systems that we typically get anywhere from a 35 to a 45% return on investment. I'm going to grab this.
You got a culprit here.
Yeah.
We use a mix of high-tech and low-tech alternatives.
When some of the product blocks the airflow in the refrigerated case, we just tend to notice it and pick it up, and it's one of the things that we educate the store associates about all the time.
Upstairs there's charts and graphs on energy usage, so they're always trying to keep it as low as possible.
Over time, customers become aware of the efforts, and prospective employees too, so we're getting known to be a socially responsible company.
I'd like to present the first Energy Star label for a grocery store to Kathy Loftus of Shaw's Supermarket.
Thank you so much. There's a culture at Shaw's for implementing energy efficiency and environmental programs, both for bottom line savings, but also because we really have a commitment to the communities in which we do business, and we feel that this is something that demonstrates that.
Great. It was really good to see that and to see you winning an award for all of your work.
Thank you.
So it sounds like there are a lot of ways that businesses can save money and a lot of different kinds of incentives that a supermarket or other businesses might have as well.